Is money dangerous because it corrupts people? Or does money become dangerous once people themselves are corrupted? According to Ghazali, the issue is not money itself. The real problem is what we choose to replace with money. If money becomes an end in itself, it destroys morality. But if money serves as a tool for justice and labor, it holds society together. Most of the crises we debate in the modern world today actually revolve around the same question that was asked centuries ago. Ghazali's view of money is not merely the opinion of a religious scholar. It is a profound warning about human nature in relation to wealth. Now we will discuss what this warning is and why it has become more relevant today than ever before. For Ghazali, money is neither good nor bad on its own. He defines money as a tool, much like a unit of measurement. Gold or silver carries no moral meaning by itself. Morality emerges from the intention behind money and the limits within which it is used. Ghazali's primary objection is to money becoming a goal. The moment a person turns money into a target, they lose their sense of measure. This is because money is limitless, and human desire cannot control what is limitless. Here, Ghazali draws a very clear line. Money earned for need and money accumulated out of greed are not the same. Need sustains a person. Greed slowly consumes them from within. According to him, the corruption of societies does not begin with the increase of money, but with the change in what money represents. When money stops being a tool that distributes justice and turns into a symbol of power, morality quietly withdraws. Ghazali is not opposed to trade, nor is he opposed to profit. In fact, he sees fair compensation for labor as one of the fundamental conditions of justice. However, when profit is obtained by crushing the labor of others, legitimacy ends there. Interest, unjust gain, and deception are therefore not merely economic mistakes in his thinking, but moral deviations. This is because such practices sever money from its connection to labor. According to Ghazali, the moment money loses its bond with labor, it begins to poison society. People learn passivity instead of production, exploitation instead of contribution. This corrupts not only the individual, but the entire social system. His core warning is this: when money replaces morality, order collapses. People begin to define what is right based on benefit and what is wrong based on loss. At this point, conscience is silenced, measure is lost, and even if society appears strong from the outside, it begins to decay from within. If the picture Ghazali drew centuries ago still feels familiar today, it is not because money has changed, but because human nature has not. According to Ghazali, the most critical point to focus on when establishing the connection between money and morality is how money transforms a person's inner world. In his view, money is like an external object. It can be held, counted, and stored, but its effect is internal. When a person engages with money, they are in fact confronting their own desires, fears, and weaknesses. For Ghazali, the greatest danger of money lies precisely here. Money has the power to deepen human weaknesses. For those who possess it, it feeds arrogance. For those who do not, it fuels greed. Therefore, the issue is not how much money one has, but what place money occupies in the human mind. According to Ghazali, the moment money begins to take a place in the heart, balance is disturbed. What belongs in the heart is love, measure, justice, and responsibility. When money settles there, it slowly pushes these values out and occupies that space alone. A person no longer asks, "Is this right?" but instead asks, "Is this profitable?" This is exactly where the moral rupture occurs. Ghazali explicitly defines this situation as a loss of direction, because morality requires drawing boundaries, whereas money seeks to break them. When a person tries to control an unlimited tool with a limited conscience, internal conflict becomes inevitable. According to Ghazali, this conflict begins in the individual but produces results in society. As people grow accustomed to making small compromises for the sake of gain, these compromises gradually begin to feel normal to them. First, one thinks, just this once won't matter. And then this behavior becomes part of the system and starts to settle permanently. In this way, morality is not destroyed loudly. It erodes quietly. Another issue Ghazali draws attention to is money's power to generate fear. Out of fear of loss, a person begins to ignore injustice. They remain silent, they do not see, and they accept situations for the sake of their own interests. According to him, this silence is the most dangerous stage of moral collapse. Because at this point, what is wrong is already known, yet it is consciously chosen. Ghazali states that money does not directly make a person evil, but he emphasizes that it can activate the evil within a person. For this reason, he does not seek the solution in eliminating money, but in redefining the relationship established with it. As long as money serves the human being, order is possible. But the moment a human being enters into the service of money, justice falls into the background. According to Ghazali, true wealth is not the abundance of money, but the weakness of its influence over the human being. A person is free to the extent that they can control their money. Otherwise, what they think they possess gradually begins to possess them. The essential question Ghazali leaves us with in this section is this. Today, does money govern people, or do people govern money? In Ghazali's understanding of money, morality is not evaluated solely as an individual virtue. It is also a factor of social balance. According to him, if money drifts away from morality in a society, the first thing it will affect is the sense of justice. Because when balance in the distribution of wealth is disrupted, the distance between people turns not only into an economic gap but into a moral chasm. Ghazali draws attention here to a very fundamental point. Social balances do not break down because people become poor, but because injustice becomes normalized. If people receive fair compensation for their labor, they can live even with little. But when labor is devalued, trust also begins to dissolve. According to Ghazali, one of the most dangerous areas where money severs its bond with morality is when power becomes something that can be bought. The moment money can bend justice, the main pillar of society breaks. Because at that point, it is no longer what is right that wins, but what is powerful. Here, law, conscience, and responsibility are pushed into the background. Ghazali's warning on this matter is clear. When the power of money becomes limitless, the limits of the human being are erased. A person becomes unable to measure what is rightful and what is unjust. Everything is evaluated based on outcomes. The question, "Did I win?" takes precedence over the question, "Was I right?" This mental shift is the very mechanism that slowly collapses societies from within. Ghazali does not see the concentration of wealth in certain hands merely as an economic risk. He defines it as a moral danger, because this situation renders the labor of others invisible. People begin to admire opportunity and cunning rather than hard work. In such a society, working is not glorified. Getting rich quickly is. According to Ghazali, this change in perception creates a corruption that continues across generations. Children learn results rather than labor. They imitate profit rather than process. This interrupts the transmission of morality. Ghazali's solution is not radical, but it is profound. He does not propose eliminating money. He proposes confining money within a moral framework. Money should circulate, but it should not rule. Profit should be possible, but it should not be excessive. In his view, as long as justice can stand in front of money, society remains upright. Otherwise, money transforms not only individuals, but institutions as well. As institutions grow stronger, conscience weakens. And as conscience weakens, order exists only on paper. This observation Ghazali made centuries ago remains valid today. Because the issue is not the name of economic systems, but the value by which money is constrained. If the value assigned to money rises above morality, collapse becomes inevitable. This collapse does not happen all at once. It advances silently, slowly, deeply, and in a way that makes return impossible. One of the areas where Ghazali is most uncompromising in the relationship between money and morality is the issue of intention. According to him, the same money, the same amount, and the same transaction can produce entirely different moral outcomes when carried out with different intentions. For this reason, Ghazali believed that morality must be evaluated not only through outward actions, but together with inner motivations. If a person does not ask themselves the question, why, while earning a gain, that is where inner danger begins. Because when intention is left unchecked, money can become a destructive force at its core, even while appearing legitimate on the surface. According to Ghazali, the fundamental question a person must ask themselves is this: does this gain make me more just or more greedy? If money turns a person into someone who wants more and is satisfied with less, then a moral deviation has occurred. At this point, Ghazali issues a very clear warning. When a person begins to deceive themselves in order to legitimize their gains, morality no longer serves as a guide. This is because the human mind is highly skilled at presenting wrongs as if they were right when self-interest is involved. For this reason, Ghazali argues that the most dangerous form of corruption does not begin outside, but within the individual. Money functions like a catalyst that accelerates this inner corruption. Ghazali also draws attention to the relationship between money, worship, charity, and goodness. According to him, money can be a tool for good, but when that goodness turns into display or a sense of superiority, it loses its meaning. A person is not tested by how much they give, but by their intention. Therefore, Ghazali draws a serious distinction between giving a lot and giving from the right place. If money is earned by crushing others, acts of charity performed afterward do not morally cleanse that oppression, because justice is not achieved through later compensations, but through balances established from the beginning. Ghazali's approach reveals one of the most uncomfortable truths about money. Morality does not look only at outcomes. It looks at process. People often justify themselves by saying, "The result was good," but according to Ghazali, a wrong path does not lead to a right destination. When money is earned with a corrupt intention, it produces distrust in society and unrest within the individual. Even as a person gains more, they begin to live with a sense of inner deficiency. Ghazali describes this as money's inability to satisfy the human being. Because money does not feed the stomach, it feeds desire, and desire grows as it is fed. For this reason, the morality Ghazali proposes does not glorify poverty, but it glorifies limits. As long as a person does not learn to be content with what they earn, they will never feel satisfied, no matter how much they gain. The most striking message Ghazali leaves us with in this section is this: money does not conceal a person's character. On the contrary, both its presence and its absence reveal one's true identity. And when a person truly encounters money, they see more clearly who they really are at their core. The relationship Ghazali builds between money and morality ultimately concludes with a warning. This warning is directed neither solely at individuals nor only at rulers. It is conceived to address the entire system as a whole. According to him, for a society to place money at its center means to reorder its priorities around money and then, quietly and often without realizing it, to lose its social and moral values. Over time, people stop aiming to be good people and instead aim to be successful people. Yet, when success is severed from morality, it turns into an empty shell. At this point, Ghazali makes a simple but striking observation. When morality weakens, systems do not truly stand. They merely appear to be standing, because what holds order together is not rules themselves, but people who believe in those rules. When money erodes this belief, even the strongest structures begin to crack. According to Ghazali, collapse does not happen in a single day. First, small injustices are ignored. Then those injustices turn into habits. When people begin to say, "Everyone does it," morality starts to feel like a personal burden. At that point, being righteous begins to require courage. It is precisely here that Ghazali draws attention to the danger of silence. Because the final stage of moral collapse is not that people defend what is wrong, but that they abandon the defense of what is right. Money can purchase this silence. People remain quiet to avoid loss. They bend to avoid exclusion, and they postpone justice for the sake of comfort. According to Ghazali, this postponement carries the highest cost, because justice that is postponed is eventually disregarded altogether. For this reason, Ghazali's solution is neither harsh laws nor excessive prohibitions. He calls for a rethinking of the human relationship with money. The purpose of money is to provide convenience. It is not to produce meaning. Meaning comes from morality. If, in a society, money becomes the measure of respect, value, and power, then everyone is destined to lose, even the winners, because where trust does not exist, wealth cannot be lasting either. Ghazali speaks as if addressing the present from centuries ago. If peace does not increase as money increases, the problem is not money itself, but the role assigned to it. Until human beings put money in its proper place, neither individual peace nor social justice is possible. At the end of this section, only one question remains. Today, does money serve morality or does morality serve money? Ghazali's legacy lies in teaching us to stand courageously in front of this question. When we bring together all of Ghazali's thoughts on money, we see that he is not offering us an economic model, but a model of a human being who understands money. His concern was never how to multiply wealth. It was how a person can live with money without being corrupted by it. Because according to Ghazali, the real crisis does not exist in the market, but within the human being. When inner balance is lost, no matter how strong the external order appears, it cannot stand. For this reason, Ghazali does not see morality as an abstract ideal, but as an invisible pillar that holds society upright. When this pillar collapses, the downfall will not be loud as one might expect. Collapse comes slowly, it comes silently, and it is often noticed too late. People still work, produce, and earn, but they no longer remember why they are earning. This is precisely where Ghazali's strongest warning comes into play. Money exists to make human life easier, not to define it. When a person begins to measure their worth by their income, they diminish both their own value and the value of others. Because money compares, while morality balances. Money separates, while morality unites. According to Ghazali, the moment morality withdraws in a society, justice withdraws as well. Where there is no justice, there can be no trust. And where there is no trust, no system can survive for long. For this reason, Ghazali's legacy does not belong to the past. He asked the same question to the people of today. Do we want more, or do we want what is sufficient? Do we want to earn faster, or do we want to earn in the right way? According to Ghazali, the answers to these questions are more decisive than economic charts, because when the measure within the human being is corrupted, every external measure loses its meaning. In the finale, Ghazali's thought reminds us of this. Morality is not an ornament remembered in times of crisis. Morality is the only thing that prevents crises before they are born. As long as money remains within this morality, it is a source of blessing. When it steps outside of it, it turns into the source of conflict. Ghazali's true call is not to prohibitions, but to awareness. It is a call for the courage to set limits for oneself and to be content with what one earns. And perhaps today, in a world where money is spoken about so much, this is exactly the thing that is spoken about the least, yet needed the most. Ghazali's final message is clear. The person who understands and governs money is free. The person governed by money becomes its slave without realizing it. Societies that can make this distinction continue to stand. Those that cannot disappear into history without ever understanding why they collapsed.